I found a second wedding ring hidden in her pocket 2 days before our wedding. So I married him anyway, then handed him divorce papers while she was cutting the cake in front of everyone. The tux was already tailored, the guest list finalized, the floral arrangements had been paid in full, and her mother was still fussing about seat placements as if her voice mattered more than mine. 2 days. That was all that stood between us and the altar, where we'd say things like forever and always. I wasn't nervous. I was prepared. Or so I thought. I found the second ring by accident. Her beige wool coat had slipped off the kitchen stool, and when I picked it up to hang it in the closet, something thudded in the pocket. Not jingled, not clinked. Thudded. A dense, heavy sound that didn't match a lipstick or keys. Curious, not yet suspicious, I slid my hand into the pocket and felt the cold metal. I pulled it out slowly, thinking it was perhaps mine. A practice ring? Something sentimental? But it wasn't. The band was thicker, darker. Inside, initials were engraved. Not mine, not hers, someone else's. DH to ML, always. The engraving was fresh, untouched by time, still clean like a secret never meant to be discovered. I stood there with the coat still slung over my arm, the ring tight in my grip, staring at those letters like they might rearrange into something that made sense. But they didn't. They weren't mine. And I didn't know any DH. I didn't ask her about it that night. I didn't call my best friend. I didn't text anyone. I waited, because that ring, while screaming something was wrong, was still just a ring. And people make mistakes, right? That's what I told myself. Until the next morning. She left her phone in the bathroom while brushing her teeth, and it lit up with a message from someone saved only as D. It wasn't long, just a simple, still thinking about yesterday. The timestamp? 2 days ago. When she told me she was at her dress fitting with her sister, she had even sent me a blurry photo of lace on a hanger as proof. I didn't unlock the phone right away. I stared at the message as she hummed in the next room. My heart wasn't racing. It was steady. Cold almost. Like my mind had gone ahead of my emotions, already putting the pieces together. When I finally opened it, it wasn't one message. It was dozens. Conversations stretching back weeks. Hotel reservations, sentiments, promises, things that didn't belong to me, things that were never meant for me. She was marrying me for the life, the image, the comfort of a mortgage and 2 cars and a man who listened. And him? He was the fire, the thrill, the part of her that didn't want structure, and she thought she could have both. I didn't rage. I didn't scream. I didn't even cry. Instead, I deleted nothing. I took screenshots. I printed them. I noted dates, times. I made a quiet decision that if she wanted a performance, I'd give her one. Just not the one she expected. The rehearsal dinner came and went. She beamed in photos. She kissed my cheek. She whispered about how excited she was. And I kissed her back like none of it stung. Like I hadn't seen her lying face reflected in every message she'd sent him. The morning of the wedding, I got dressed with my brother and smiled through every joke. I adjusted my cufflinks. I tied my shoes slow. I looked in the mirror and told myself to wait until the right moment. She'd planned this day down to the second, but she never saw my moment coming. The ceremony went as expected. Vows exchanged, tears shed. I said mine with precision, not devotion. I placed the ring on her finger, the one meant for me, not for him. She never flinched. She looked radiant. She looked triumphant. Photos were taken in the garden. Guests clapped and posed. Her secret lover sat 6 rows back, pretending to be a distant friend of the family. He smiled, too. They thought I didn't know. They thought the curtain would never fall. The reception followed with fanfare. A white cake towered in the center. She held the knife. I held an envelope. Her hand was steady. Mine was calmer. Before dessert, I said into the microphone, my voice even, I have something sweet to share, too. Everyone turned. Laughter stilled. The music faded into a low hum. She turned to me, confused. Then I handed her the envelope. Thick. Sealed. Her name written in calligraphy. She opened it. Her hand paused halfway through the first page. The divorce papers, dated that morning. Signed. Witnessed. I looked straight at her. No hate in my voice. Just truth. You made me a beautiful day. So I returned the favor. The knife slipped from her fingers. It clattered against the table. Somewhere in the back, DH stood up. The room froze. The sound of the knife hitting the floor still echoed faintly as I walked off the stage. I didn't run. I didn't need to. There was no drama in my steps, no hesitation, only precision. Behind me, whispers exploded into a rising storm. People didn't know whether to approach her or me. They stayed glued to their seats, caught between discomfort and disbelief. The DJ stood frozen, hand hovering over the control panel, unsure whether to stop the music completely or pretend none of it happened. My shoes tapped against the wooden floor of the hall, each step louder than the last conversation I'd had with her. She didn't chase me. I walked through the back hallway, took the service exit, and stepped outside. The air was thick with humidity, but it tasted better than anything in that room. I didn't need to look back to know what was happening. Her mother was probably crying in embarrassment. Her father likely scanning the crowd to piece together how this happened under his nose. The guests whispering, trying to act like they weren't complicit in watching someone's world disintegrate in front of a wedding cake. I sat on the bench outside the venue, the kind meant for smokers or waiters taking their break. It gave me just enough distance to hear the faint murmurs inside, but not enough to escape entirely. That's when the door opened. Quick and hard. I expected someone close to me, my brother maybe, but it was him. D.H. The other name on that hidden ring. The man she thought she'd hidden in plain sight. He didn't look surprised. Not really, just stunned that his part in the story had surfaced so violently. He adjusted his collar and looked at me like he was about to say something intelligent. I didn't give him the chance. "You should leave," I said without turning toward him. "I didn't know you found out," he muttered, as if that somehow made it better. "She told me you were cold, that you didn't care about the details, that she—" "Don't finish that sentence." He stopped mid-breath. The parking lot stretched silent behind us, empty except for the rented cars of guests who still hadn't figured out whether they were staying for cake or heading home early. He waited, hoping maybe I'd offer a window, a way to explain. I gave him none. "You thought this would stay hidden?" I asked, voice low, even. "That she'd marry me, keep you tucked behind hotel keys and locked messages, and the world would just adapt?" He rubbed the back of his neck. "She told me it would end eventually, that it was just excitement," I finished for him. "That's the word she used." He nodded, ashamed but not remorseful, and that distinction mattered more than anything else in that moment. "I'm not angry at you," I said plainly. "You were part of the lie, but not the architect. She's the one who stood beside me, reciting vows she never meant. You were just the firewood she burned behind closed doors." He shifted uncomfortably. "Look, I didn't mean to hurt anyone." I stood up then, not suddenly, not aggressively, just done. Intent means nothing when the knife's already in. He stepped aside as I walked past him. I didn't look back. There was no point. The story with him was closed. Whatever apology he came outside to deliver held no weight. It was already too late. I'd already exposed everything in front of everyone that mattered, and the consequences were now hers to carry. My car was parked across the lot. When I got in, the phone buzzed. 10 messages, all from her. None of them read. I turned off the screen. She had nothing left to say that I needed to hear. But I didn't drive home. Not yet. Instead, I drove to the lake we'd once visited together months ago when we still believed our story had no shadows. I parked by the gravel edge, let the engine go quiet, and stared out over the still water. I thought about the first time I met her, at a friend's engagement party. She was the kind who didn't walk into rooms. She entered them. Eyes caught her. Conversations paused for half a beat. She had that presence people can't fake. We talked for hours that night, and I didn't notice the music ending or the lights dimming. She smiled at me like I was the only one who saw her clearly. Maybe I did. Or maybe I saw only what she let me. I thought about our first trip. The way she reached for my hand without asking. How she'd talk about our future like it was written already. I bought into it. Every word. Every kiss. Every plan. I believed I was the center of her story, when all along I was just a placeholder for the version of life she wanted to appear to have. I thought about the late nights she claimed she was working late, how she always kept her phone tilted away. I chalked it up to anxiety, privacy, modern habits. But it was deceit. She perfected it. Layer by layer, lie by lie. The lake was calm, nothing moved. The sky had started to shift into orange, shadows creeping across the edge of the trees. My reflection in the windshield didn't look broken, just different. I wasn't the man from yesterday anymore. I finally drove home just after sunset. When I got inside, her suitcase was already by the door. She had come back before me. She sat on the couch, makeup faded, dress replaced with something simple. No jewelry, no ring. She looked small, not because she was trying to be, because the performance had collapsed and she was caught in the rubble. I walked in, hung my keys, and said nothing. She stood up, arms at her sides. Please let me explain. No, she froze. Her mouth opened, then shut again. I pointed to the suitcase. Is that your choice? Or were you hoping I'd forgive this after a speech? I wasn't going to stay if you asked me to leave, she said softly. I didn't ask. Her eyes searched mine for anything. Anger, hope, hate. I gave her none. Just facts. I saw the messages. I saw the receipts. I saw everything. You weren't careful. You were just lucky I didn't look sooner. She stepped closer. It didn't mean what you think. I tilted my head. What do I think it meant? She hesitated. That I didn't love you. Did you? She paused too long. Then yes, I do. You don't. You loved what I gave you. You loved the picture we painted. But love doesn't come with a backup option in a hotel room. She stepped back, ashamed. He was nothing serious. And yet you had a ring engraved for him. Silence. She didn't deny it. She couldn't. I stayed through the wedding to show you what you did, I said. You built an illusion, and I let you wear it one last time before it all came down. Tears welled in her eyes. She didn't wipe them. She let them fall, like they might undo what she did. I don't hate you, I said, but I won't pretend you're someone you're not. I didn't think it would end like this, she whispered. I shook my head. Neither did I. But that's the difference. You saw a lie worth living. I saw a future worth building. And they weren't the same thing. She nodded slowly. So this is it? This was it the moment I found that ring. She reached for the suitcase, pulled it toward her, and walked toward the door. No hugs, no begging, just quiet. At the door, she turned back. I thought I could control it all. You couldn't even control yourself. Then she left. The door clicked shut. I stood in the silence. The room didn't feel empty. It felt honest. For the first time in weeks, the air wasn't thick with lies. I didn't feel relief. Not yet. But I felt clarity. The next morning, the messages had slowed. People didn't know what to say. Some offered condolences. Others stayed silent, not sure which side of the story they were even supposed to stand on. I didn't answer any of them. I went back to work 2 days later. No long speech, no outburst, just a simple explanation that the wedding was off. People whispered, but no one asked too much. They didn't need to. Everyone already knew what happened. The photos had stopped circulating. She removed most of them. Probably embarrassed. Probably hiding. But I didn't hide. 3 weeks passed. Then a letter came in the mail. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. I opened it slowly. Inside was a short note. You were right. I thought you'd never find out. I thought if I smiled big enough, walked carefully enough, you'd never see through me. But you did, and I never deserved what you gave me. Not even for a day. No apology. No request to come back. Just the truth, finally spoken. I folded the letter and placed it in the drawer. Not to keep it close, but to remind myself of what I saw and refused to ignore. That week, I changed my locks. I closed the wedding registry. I canceled the honeymoon tickets. And I started to rebuild. Not because I needed to escape her, but because I refused to become like her.